What's going on, man? What's going on, everybody? How are we? Good day so far? Good day. All right, well, I'm honored to be here back at the XRP conference. My name is Cody Carbone. I am CEO of the Digital Chamber. Really great conversation ahead. We have the hometown Congressman, Congressman Stephen Horsford here. We have an awesome conversation about the future of digital assets in America and American leadership. And so, Congressman, I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to get right into it.
All right.
You've emerged as a supporter of blockchain innovation on Capitol Hill, one of the few Democrats last year to vote for the market structure bill. How do you balance, the enthusiasm you have for the technology with ensuring proper oversight and consumer protection? This is something that's new.
Well, first, it's great to be with all of you. Thank you for having this conference here in Las Vegas. It is true what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but when it comes to the blockchain and digital assets, we want this to go worldwide. And this is an opportunity for us to do that. And I also want to recognize all the stagehands and the people who build these conferences here in Las Vegas, because they make us the entertainment capital of the world. But to your question, look, I'm about economic opportunity, and I believe that blockchain is the future, and the future is now, and we need to make sure that we are building these avenues for this to be inclusive for all communities. Yes, we need to get it right. We need to get the regulatory structure right, but that should not impede innovation. It should not impede technology. And the more that we bring people into this process, help them understand what it is and what it isn't, I believe that we can pass legislation that is bipartisan, that's sustainable, because we don't want this to only be supported by one party and the shifts of those party and who's in the majority at any one time. This is something that is going to be with us, not just for the near future, but this is going to be with us for the long term.
And we need to lead. The U.S. has to lead. We talk constantly about U.S. competitiveness with this new technology, particularly as other jurisdictions have already started to leapfrog us. You look at what's been happening in Asia, in the Middle East. They are trying to regulate, and they are trying to lead in the U.S. absence. Are you concerned that America could fall behind if we don't move quickly tomorrow on this?
Well, yeah, look, we absolutely need to be out front. America sets the standard globally, and it must do so when it comes to digital assets and blockchain. And it's in our national interest to do so, to be a leader. I serve on the Ways and Means Committee. I believe that these are issues that when we lead, we will actually set the standard for other nations to follow. Unfortunately, right now, because of the uncertainty with tariffs, which are taxes that we pay as American consumers, it's actually creating economic instability and uncertainty. That is why we need to make sure that we're working in a bipartisan way to get the legislation right and to make sure that American leadership prevails.
Let's bring it closer to home. We're here in your home in Las Vegas. We're here in Nevada. What does it mean for innovation hubs like this for the U.S. to lead?
So, look, this is important to Nevada's economy. I am a native of Nevada. I was born and raised here. We are known as the tourism and entertainment and now sports capital of the world. But I also believe in economic diversification. And I believe that with blockchain, not only is this important from a financial standpoint, but this is important from the standpoint of data management, on intellectual property, on transfer of information and security of that information. That is what blockchain is about. The more people and members of Congress and staff, quite frankly, that understand what this is and isn't, more members, I think, will understand the importance of getting on board. Here in Nevada, we want to be the leaders in this space. That's why you all are here. We're excited to have this conference here because it's about learning, it's about sharing, and it's also about making sure that small businesses and communities from all backgrounds are able to participate and benefit. This is not something that's exclusionary, it's inclusive. And the more that we decentralize and democratize this process, the more that we can build ownership for everybody.
Give it up. How do you think specifically this technology can lead to that economic growth? To lead to new jobs, new businesses, whether it's here in Las Vegas or it's anywhere in the United States?
Well, I am a believer that the more that we are able to break down the elements of blockchain and how it can be applied in various sectors in our everyday lives for the economic advancements that we want to see, the more that we can adopt it and show people that this is for everybody, and that we can put in the necessary consumer protections and regulatory structures so that we do get this right, so that we protect people's assets and their investments, and that we make sure that this grows for the long term. That is something that I'm committed to, and it's one of the reasons why, as you said, I was among initially a small group of Democratic members in the House who voted for the legislation, but I'm looking forward to growing the numbers of support across the aisle, because when we work together, we can actually accomplish big things.
Well said. Many people in Nevada, we talk about one of the largest use cases and applications of digital assets. It's cross-border remittances. We have stablecoin legislation moving in both the House and the Senate right now. How can digital assets like XRP facilitate faster and more affordable remittances for all the folks who want to send money overseas, whether it's to their families back home or it's just any kind of payment?
Well, look, just to put one thing in context, so unfortunately we just voted on a big bill, they call it the Big Beautiful Bill. There are elements in it that I'm very concerned with, and one of those is the fact that there is a new tax in one of the provisions of this bill that would single out remittances. That actually makes it harder for individuals to be able to make transactions abroad. So even if you're not worried about that, we should be talking about the new burdens, both on payment processors and on households. Even the bill text acknowledges that determining what is considered a taxable remittance is not clear. It's not straightforward. So we're going to need to continue to work on that provision as this bill now moves to the Senate. But this is actually an opportunity, again, for blockchain, for digital assets to be viewed as part of the solution to actually make this process more secure for families who use it.
I'm glad you raised the excise tax on remittances. It's ironic to me, this is something the Digital Chamber has spoken out and that we oppose, and I would encourage everyone to take a look at the reconciliation bill, and if you want to see stablecoin adoption, speak out against that provision in the bill. It doesn't work as we're trying to pass a stablecoin framework. It would make stablecoin adoption even harder, so I'm very glad to see that you've spoken out against that. Another area we talk about and one of the benefits of this technology is financial inclusion and accessibility, especially for the folks who rely on traditional money transfer services today. What do you have to say about that? Is that one of the reasons that you're supportive of this technology?
Well, yeah, so I represent my district covers 50,000 square miles throughout Nevada. It's one of the larger congressional districts in the country. It's a diverse district, demographically and geographically. And when I hear from small businesses here in Las Vegas or in rural Nevada, one of the big things that they talk to me about is the lack of access to capital. And for far too long, traditional financial institutions and industries have made access to capital for entrepreneurs too hard, too difficult. They've set up systems that don't work for many of us. And that is another reason that I am a supporter of blockchain. I'm a supporter of crypto and digital assets because I see this as opening access to capital up to more entrepreneurs, helping them start and grow their businesses, having access to technology to do technology and transactions with their consumers, and to be able to have ownership in the technology that they're helping to build. I am about building wealth for all communities, not limiting it only to the select few. That is what's not working with our major industries today, and we need to decentralize that and put it into the hands of entrepreneurs and individuals themselves.
I've gotten to know the XRP community really well, I think, over the last few years, and I think they would all get behind building wealth. I think that's something that resonates with these folks. And the ownership economy, as you mentioned, and democratizing finance. Those are some of the reasons that I think all of us have gotten behind this technology. So that's fantastic to hear you say. Finally, on a forward-looking note, what developments in blockchain, digital assets are you most excited about over the next few years?
Well, I am pleased that bills have been introduced, Stable and Genius. I probably would have come up with a different name had they asked me. But that notwithstanding, the provisions in these bills are necessary. And one of the things that I really want to encourage everyone here to do is to engage with your members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. Talk to their staffs about what this means for you and why you are supportive of the legislation. We have amazing opportunities to be able to turn real and abstract assets into digital tokens that can be securely issued, transferred, and managed on blockchain. And that is something that I am very interested in. I am interested in seeing the real world application and solutions of this. In fact, I just met with someone earlier in the week who talked to me about the way that blockchain can be used to deal with the infrastructure needs here in our state around wireless and internet service, for example. We are also installing solar rooftops, and this blockchain could actually help more consumers be the owners, but also use blockchain to transmit those credits, to again be the owners and the determiners of their wealth and their future. That is kind of the real world application in a lot of different areas that I'm interested in seeing how this will be, how this will evolve, I should say, into the future.
I'm always shocked. I learn so much when I come to these conferences. The applications and the innovation that folks in this room are thinking of and how to use this technology to empower people, to make people's lives better. I want to ask you this, and I always ask when I talk to members of Congress, and you hit on it a little bit, but this is a very passionate room, a very passionate community. What is the best way for them to get their voice heard? They have a lot of great ideas, and I think too often folks go to Washington and they think they have to explain the technology. Oh. I think they need to explain what the problem is and how the technology could solve X problem for the people. But what advice would you give to the people in this room who maybe have never engaged a lawmaker before, whether it's at the federal level like yourself or it's at the school board level?
Well, you just said it. It is about not focusing so much on the technical elements of the technology, but what problem we're looking to solve and how the technology is a solution to solve for that problem. And the more ways that we can show blockchain solving problems in individual communities, rural and urban, the more buy-in I think that you can get. I want to be able to see the impact in my district. When we're talking about bills in Washington, D.C., my question is always, how does this apply back to my constituents here in Nevada? So wherever you're from, just know that most members of Congress approach it in the same way. How is blockchain as an asset, as a tool, as a piece of technology, how can it be used to fully solve problems in very diverse and inclusive ways? That's what I'm interested in, and it's one of the reasons I'm a supporter, I'm a champion, and I look forward to continuing to work with your chamber and with folks here in Nevada and all across the country to be able to move legislation forward that accomplishes that goal.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a local, you have a champion behind you, I would encourage you to reach out. If we're going to get legislation and regulatory clarity so the U.S. can finally lead on this technology, it's going to be in part because of representatives like Congressman Horsford. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, our next panelist, we have the ripple effect, legal challenges and opportunities within Web3. We have the one and only Mr. Paul Barron speaking, and from the DCI